Hey guys, I'm gonna be in a meeting, so no screaming, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, I tried to figure out how to mute it to do that, but you know.
No worries. Right, looks like people are starting to dial in. Hello to those that are just joining us. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes, so hang tight. Thanks for joining. Like another big group just joined. Hi to those that are just dialing in. We're going to get started in about 4 minutes, so hang tight.
Shay? Okay, good. Oh. I'm so sorry.
Alrighty, it's just about 5 p.m. Pacific, so we're going to get started. So good evening, everyone. This is Jordan Pedraza here from the Remind Community Team based out of San Francisco. And tonight, this is the second of 3 special webinars or hangouts for Remind Connected educators and administrators. So tonight, we're basically going to be giving you an update on the Remind Connected Educator program and also highlight some upcoming back-to-school initiatives. And then lastly, talk about how you can share Remind with others or train others on Remind and any best practices, tips, and resources to support you with that. And we're also joined by an awesome panel of fellow Remind Connected educators, and they're going to be sharing their experiences and tips and examples with how they use Remind and then also how they share Remind with others. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I think most of you are already in the Remind class, so we're going to use that for submitting Q&A. So feel free to send me questions, just reply back to me, and we're going to be reading off questions when we get to that part at the end. So hopefully you see my screen now, and to those in the Hangout, you can just click on my profile, and hopefully you can see my screen. And then here's the class code again, in case anyone isn't in it yet. Just text that code at August 3 PD to 81010. And that should add you to the class. So if you're already in the class, you can just reply back to me and send any questions or comments you have throughout the session. All right, so introducing myself one more time here. I'm Jordan Pedraza, and I lead community at Remind. I've been here for about 1.5 years, and I'm based in our San Francisco headquarters. And I'm very passionate about supporting teachers and school stakeholders and communities on using technology to realize new learning models, to help people get the resources and support they need, and really just make the most out of all the tools we have to offer. And so there's my email address right there, so feel free to follow up with me or contact me at any time, or just message me on Remind. I'm always happy to help support you. All right, so the agenda here is pretty straightforward this evening. I'm going to talk about the RCE program, give you some updates and highlights. Then I'm going to start talking about best practices of how you can share Remind with others and some stories. And then we'll hear from our panel on how they use Remind and share it with others. And then lastly, I'll walk through our latest kind of PD resources that you can use in sharing Remind. And then we'll wrap with Q&A. All right, so to start with, let's talk a little bit about the Remind Connected Educator and Administrator programs. So first, I'd like to take a step back and explain where these programs kind of fit in the broader landscape at Remind. So I mentioned earlier, I lead community at Remind, and what that means is connecting and delighting all of you. Connecting and supporting our teachers and administrators and students and parents to really scale our support for you. You know, since we're a smaller team, but there's many of you, we want to make it easier to hear your questions, hear your feedback, share resources with you, share news with you, and then also encourage you all to share what you're learning and doing so everyone can make the most out of the platform. And then ultimately, the goal is that once we've empowered you with the latest and greatest, then you can go ahead and share that with others. So we have a few different programs within community at Remind. So Remind Connected Educators, that's for mainly classroom teachers. Remind Connected Administrators, so that's for principals and other staff members, maybe parent liaisons or counselors or coaches or other staff. And then we also have smaller advisory boards for teachers, students, and parents. So that's a smaller group, but we really dig into our product and ask for more strategic input on how we can continue to improve Remind. And then as far as how we communicate with our various communities, we're at lots of events, big and small. We're at ed camps, we're at large national conferences, and then of course we do a lot of things online, like we're doing tonight. So we're on social media, and of course we use Remind as well to communicate with you all, again, as we're doing tonight. And then a lot of people still ask me, well, what is an RCA or RCE exactly? So essentially, they are educators, staff, or professionals who are passionate about using Remind. And essentially, they help spread the word about Remind through lots of different ways, through trainings, through events or conferences, through social media, through blog posts, through providing feedback and testing new features with us. So there's a lot of ways that RCEs and RCAs collaborate with us. But ultimately, I think the bigger mission that motivates us all and brings us together is that we want to help our students and families succeed. And so we try to figure out what's the best way to do that with our platform, with Remind. And where are RCEs and RCAs? They're all over the place, mostly in North America, but definitely starting to branch out internationally. And here's a link to this map in case you want to look at it more closely. But essentially, we have a mix of RCEs and RCAs across the country. And it's really cool to see clusters especially come up in a particular school or district. Oftentimes there's multiple RCEs in one community. So it's really beautiful to see all the different parts of the world and country that people are coming from. And just to give you some sense of who these wonderful people are. So one of my favorite things about the program is that there's all kinds of roles that people have. Many folks are classroom teachers, librarians, tech coordinators, parent liaisons, coaches, band directors, student activities advisors, principals. I mean, the list goes on. And I really always enjoy hearing the creative ways everyone is using the tool, and also, just as importantly, how they're supporting others with it. So just some example of wonderful RCEs and RCAs out there. We have Desiree Alexander. She's based over in Louisiana, and she used to be a school librarian at her last school, and then now she's transitioned to a tech coordinator role at her new school. But she's been able to use it with her students and with the library. And then Alan Hancock over in Idaho, he's been a teacher for quite a long time, I think over 20 years, and now he's helping out his PTA with getting started with Remind. So yeah, there's, again, all kinds of wonderful ways that we're seeing RCEs and RCAs spread the word and utilize this tool for lots of different purposes. And I also wanted to mention our kind of new back-to-school theme and kind of challenge this year. So it's called Succeed Together, and it's really recognizing that it takes a village to help every student succeed. And it really takes us building a supportive network and system of all of us, of educators, of counselors, of parents, of staff and students, everyone being partners in helping everyone succeed. And we think effective communication helps make that happen. Fast and efficient communication, so that information is shared more easily, people are more informed, and then ultimately empowered to do what they need to do or do what they want to do. And so we're excited to help support building more of these villages and helping schools succeed together this year. And particularly, we've added some new resources to help with that. So we just updated our Remind community page, and I'm going to be showing it in a little bit, but essentially we have a new kind of school-wide engagement handout that anyone is welcome to use. We have a new case study, and we have new presentation materials to kind of celebrate and share how we can all succeed together. And then there's also a special treat just for RCEs and RCAs as well. It's the Succeed Together Challenge. So to, again, continue supporting this idea of it taking a village, and knowing that all of you are sharing Remind with others and really seeking to get your whole school community connected, we want to celebrate that. We want to uplift that and make it fun and exciting. And so basically, the most connected schools that get their school leader on board, and they're creating school-wide classes, and they're really just getting everyone connected and messaging and communicating with each other. We're going to offer some new features and other goodies along the way. So particularly the 300-character limit. Being able to send out longer messages is pretty popular. And so for schools that get connected, that get their school leader on board within this back-to-school season, everyone will get the new 300-character limit at the school. And then secondly, across the different regions in North America, for the most connected schools in terms of the most staff they get on board, in terms of the most people that are connected at their school, and the most messages that are sent during back to school, we're going to be giving away lots of fun swag and then grants for school supplies and conferences. So things like notebooks and stickers and pins and pencils, and then posters as well, so that everyone can know what Remind is and then how to get connected to this new school-wide class feature that we're rolling out. So that's part of the Succeed Together Challenge. We're going to be emailing RCEs about this today, so look out for an email from us, and let us know if you have any questions about that.
Jordan?
Yeah.
I just changed districts, so I have a new school email, but it's not active yet, so what happens with that?
So the email isn't active yet?
Right. My old school's been turned off. My new one hasn't been turned on yet. So what email would you be sending it to?
Oh, okay, great. So I recommend until that other new email is active, just keep using your old email, because that's what we're going to use.
But they turned it off.
Oh, okay. Then you can use your personal email. That works too.
So can I just send that to you?
Yep, or you can update it in your account settings. This goes for anyone. You can always change, your email, your school.
Okay, I'll go. All right, I'll go change it. All right, thank you.
Yeah, of course. No, that's a great question. Alrighty, so diving into kind of best practices and stories around how you might share Remind with others, and then we'll hear from our panel. So the first step we've seen that can be really helpful is figuring out where other Remind fans or users are at your school or your district or in your community. So oftentimes you may not be the only one, and then it's easier to kind of bounce ideas off each other, questions, and kind of divide and conquer. And so we have a few ways to help you connect with others. Particularly, we have forums for RCEs and RCAs. They're Facebook groups where people are posting every day examples of how they use Remind, questions, challenges they come across, suggestions for things we can do better or add, networking, collaboration, even just celebrating little successes and wins. So it's a really awesome way to get connected with others, not only in your own backyard, but all over the world. So there are links to those forums there. And I'm also going to be sending out the recording of this session and this presentation in the Remind class, so you can feel free to check out the links after. And then the other ways that you might find Remind fans at your school or your district or community, the next staff meeting, maybe asking if anyone's using it already and what their experience has been like, or even electronically. And in this example here on the right, I know the image is a little blurry, but I love this example. This is Susie, and she just emailed all of her colleagues and let them know about Remind and her experience, and asked if anyone has tried it out or needs any help or has any questions. So that can be an easy, quick way to just see, hey, who else is using this, or who else might be interested. And then some other common ways to find other Remind fans. You might present at a PD day or staff meeting. You may use any Remind gear that we send out or that you could request from us to help spread awareness. So we've seen people wear their shirt on certain days, or have a little table of information or materials right outside their classroom door. We've seen people host coffee meetups. So Coffee EDU is founded by Alice Keeler, and the concept is you just meet up for 1 hour. There's no agenda, nothing formal, and you talk about whatever you want. And then if you do that, let us know, and we can reimburse your coffee meetup up to $30. So that's another way, a more intimate, smaller way to, again, find out what people are up to and using. And then we've even had some people post flyers around or posters around on campus or in the staff lounge, again, to see who else is using it or is interested in learning more. And then, of course, you can always ask us for help with any other materials that you need. So first, it's finding your network, finding others who already use it or are interested. Then the next step is sharing your own story. I think that's what I've seen time and time again is the most effective way and powerful way to really help someone understand what Remind is, how it works, and how it can help them. So starting with what your needs were, what problems did you want to solve, or what did you want to improve or change? And then it's kind of working backwards from that, depending on who you're talking to. So figuring out what your school needs, or what your colleague needs, or what the other person needs, and then tailoring your story to that. So sometimes people are looking to get families more engaged or involved. So you may bring up a story around that. Or sometimes it's with students. Maybe what particular ways I can use Remind as an instructional tool. I want to help them better understand this material or these certain kind of units or lessons that I'm sharing with students. So it really depends on what their needs are, what their goals are, but oftentimes you can use specific examples of how you've used the tool and the impact you've seen, the feedback you've gotten. Sometimes that's even more powerful. And here on the right, here's an example on social media. Sometimes people post their sample messages and just helps people visualize, again, how it works and why it's helpful. So that's often pretty helpful to pull out your own phone or take a screenshot and share it. And of course, you might want to block out any personal information, but even just to give people, again, a sense of what it looks like in the actual tool. And then we also have a few other materials to help add to your story if you need it. So sometimes it can be around, again, parent and student engagement. We have some great studies kind of looking at treatment and control groups on who's used texting as an intervention and the outcomes it can have on student literacy or parents being more active. We've also seen great impact on attendance outcomes there. So there's a school outside of Chicago who used Remind as kind of a personal alarm clock for students because they had some problems with attendance. And after Remind, they saw attendance improve by over 20%. Or sometimes you have specific audience members that you'd like to kind of share the possibilities with. So we have some new case studies for coaches that are managing sports teams or bands or music directors. And then, of course, as I showed in this example here, you're always welcome to share your story digitally. That's where I always see people asking what new tools are available out there, feedback on what works, what doesn't, what are some examples. So you're always welcome to share your story, and we love to hear your stories. So tag Remind Love so we can see them. And then other examples of sharing Remind with others, and also how you might incorporate and embed Remind as a tool into your sharing. So I'm going to be showing you our presentation templates that we have that you can use and you can tweak to your audience needs. Again, as I said earlier, it's always helpful to show examples of real messages we've sent. And then also if you have any data or statistics, maybe you did a survey, maybe you found that people didn't necessarily read your newsletters or handouts, but you did see them reading your texts because we have delivery receipts and read receipts. Or maybe you have just kind of quotes or testimonials or things that people have said. I think that's always helpful to include when you're sharing it with others. And then when you are kind of working with others, maybe it can be a group kind of PD or session, or even just one-on-one. Oftentimes it's helpful to just kind of go through the process together. Like let's all install the app, or let's go to the website here and let's play around with it. So that way, it's a non-intimidating kind of easy way to get a feel for how it works. So sometimes we've seen people create a demo class for a particular session or just on the spot, because you can create as many accounts as you like. And then we've even seen some people during actual sessions, kind of like we're doing now, use a Remind class as a back channel. So that way people can still submit their questions or comments on the fly, and then you can kind of receive all of them in real time and review them when it's time for Q&A. So, and then of course as a follow-up after a session too. It's an easy way to share out additional information or asking for feedback after the fact. And then oftentimes I'm getting asked these days on how to share Remind with your school leader, let's say your principal or AP or vice principal. So oftentimes we've seen it's helpful to set up a conversation to share what you've achieved, what you've experienced and seen with this tool. And then we have specific materials for that conversation. We have a presentation and a handout that you can use. But most importantly, again, I think it's your story that is really powerful. And I think framing it in the eyes of what they can really respond to or what will resonate with them. So for example, here, this is from Cindy Price. And when she was talking to her principal about Remind, she told them about the chat feature and how this would be great instead of email notifications during the day since we don't have time to see this. So I thought that was a helpful way of conveying this is how it's going to help all of us, succeed together and help you reach us when you need to. So that's another great way again to frame it in the context of how it will benefit the whole school and benefit them. And then another popular way to do that is to invite them to one of your classes so they can see how it works, how to get the text messages or how to get it on the mobile app. And in fact, I think that's how a lot of people find out about it, when they're a parent and they kind of see on the receiving end what it looks like. And then that prompts them to check it out. Oh, maybe I can create my own class or group too. So those are some tips on how you might share Remind with others, but I'm going to hand the floor over now to our panel. So basically, if everyone can kind of go around and introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from, what you teach or do, and then how you've shared Remind with others and how you use it. So why don't we start with Courtney? You ready to go?
Sure. So I was just shutting the door because the neighbor's dog is barking. So you're going to have to just tell me one more time again what exactly you want me to do.
Yeah, sure. So basically just introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and how you share Remind with others and how you use it.
Okay. My name is Courtney, as you said. I teach kindergarten in Pennsylvania. I use Remind actually in a couple of different ways. The way I use it the most is with my kinder parents. Kinder parents can be very, very nervous about leaving those little 5-year-olds with me on any given day, so especially at the beginning of the year. So I find the photo feature, being able to send the parents pictures and things that are happening in the classroom at any given moment to be the most valuable for me with Remind. When I find that the parents, when they have a glimpse of what's happening in our classroom every day, that really helps. I also advise an after-school club, and being able to, Pennsylvania, we have all 4 seasons, so our weather can be a little crazy sometimes. So being able to, tell parents we're not meeting after school today, or we are meeting before school today, with a group of parents that I don't see every day because they're not necessarily in my class, that's very helpful. And then we also, I use Remind to talk to other educators in my building. We have I'm involved with the teachers union, and so I have a Remind group that I use to talk with them as well. As for how I promote Remind, honestly, it sort of really promotes itself when my parents start asking. I started doing it by myself, and then people were asking, well, how did you find out about that? Or how did they know this? Or how come your parents come and they already know what happened at the end of the day? And parents started asking around in our community, and that got my principal asking me, what is it that you're doing in that classroom? And then it sort of spread from there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Courtney. And sure. I love what you kind of started with is that transition into school. It's a new environment for parents, and it's new to them. I think we've all gone through school, but it was different from when we did it. So I'm sure they're curious, what are my kids up to now these days? And so thank you for sharing your examples. And also I love how you and your colleagues are communicating too. I think I've been reading up on some cool insights on this new movement, teacher-powered schools. and what it means when teachers are sharing information and best practices and data and research and all these things, or even just on a practical level with coordinating throughout the day. So thank you so much. Kristin, want to go next?
Okay, I'm Kristin. I'm from New York, and I teach high school chemistry. We use them for general reminders. They're kind of forgetful in 10th grade, and they need to be reminded that they have homework every single night. But other than that, at the end of the year especially, we post like review questions. So periodically they'll have like an exam question for the final. And then they can chat back to me their answers, and I can give them like little bonus points, or say the first person who gets it to me gets to pick something in class and things like that. So that's fun. Our parents, I have a parent page separate so that they don't get as many reminds, but I let them sign up for both sessions. I also have a group of teachers who connect on Long Island and in New York. And in order to get the word out of when our meetings are, we use it for that group, so it's not really school-related as much. And then my principal uses it also to send us reminders about like what to wear that day or what we're doing. Our coaches and clubs use it to talk about games and how to get the whole school involved. And today I'm actually in Colorado, even though I live in New York. We gave out some swag, and we were telling about how to use it at some of our sessions for a chemistry convention.
Nice. BCCE?
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. And I loved the example of how you, in a class, you can have both students and parents in the same one, or you can have them separate. I always get asked about that a ton, and I think it's really up to you. I think there's benefits to each approach, and so thank you for sharing that. I do think it is interesting when both parents and students are getting the same thing and on the same page, whether from an accountability perspective, or even I think it has potential to build relationships too, and more transparency and trust, and like, okay, we're all on the same page. And have you heard of Bill Ferreter? I think he's in New York too.
No.
Oh, I have to connect you with him because I think he also teaches science. And he has a cool science news class. And he sends out just little articles. And I think one time he said that you could see Venus at night. And he has both students and parents in the class. And then a parent said to him, thank you for that moment. Like, me and my kid woke up early to go look for Venus, and we wouldn't have done that otherwise. So it is pretty cool when you have everyone in the same class together. So thanks for sharing that, Kristin.
Not to jump in on out of order, but I had a Remind first this year. I actually had a grandparent join my Remind group because she wanted to see the pictures of the little kindergartner. She wanted to see what was going on too, and I thought that was really neat that this is someone who's not even in the same house with the rest of the kids, that she wanted to be part of it.
I love that. See, that's, again, it's totally flexible. Whoever wants to be involved and informed, that's awesome. I love that. Like, I wish I had that because, especially for me, if families are all over the place and it's hard to know the day-to-day small little details and progress. So I love that. That's a great example. Cool. Let's move along to Lauren.
Okay, so I teach in Southern New Jersey. I teach past year, just all freshman English, and I coach cheer, and I advise a craft club. So I had a Remind for each of the different levels that I taught, standard, accelerated, and honors, and then I had one for cheer and one for craft club. So cheer and craft club is really for meetings or games or things like that, if we're having a team dinner. Mostly I used it for my classes. I would send out 2 reminders a day, usually one at 2:30 when the last bell rang, so that the kids would remember like what to grab for their homework. And then one again at about 6 o'clock, because I feel like they go home, they fall asleep, they play video games or whatever like that, and then they forget that they had homework, so that one kind of like picks back up halfway through the night. And then I would schedule those in the morning before anything started, so this way I didn't have to worry. So I really like that, being able to schedule things ahead of time so that they're all set up, because kids are like, well, how much time do you spend in a day just sending us text messages? I was like, 2 seconds. So That's been good. And then I like the addition of the chat feature because I have the ability to, kids will be working on something, they'll send me a question or a picture of their homework even, saying, am I on the right track with this, which that's really been nice to have. And I've actually even been using it in the summer. This is the first summer we give out summer reading assignments to our kids. So I've been sending out periodic reminders that I'm asking them to send me pictures of them doing their summer reading on vacation to make a bulletin board. So I've been using that over the summer to kind of stay in touch with them, which has been nice.
Wow, I love everything you just said. Especially the chat piece, and some love it, some don't, and it's totally optional to use. But that homework help piece, or over the summer, I think that's awesome. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And the scheduled feature too. I feel like that's one of the most unappreciated features. I didn't realize how helpful that can be, and particularly hearing how people kind of leverage that, for certain times of the day, and not only just to be more efficient and kind of plan ahead, but thinking about, okay, if I send it at this time, what are they going to be doing? So how can that be helpful for them? So love that. Thanks. Robin.
Hi. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. I started using I've been using it for about 2 years now, and the first time I started using it was in December when I first learned about it. So I told the kids about it, and the kids signed up, but the parents, they didn't tell their parents. So they didn't want their parents to know that this was a feature and that parents could know about homework and assignments and things like that. So I made a mental note that the next year, come the fall, I would send a letter out and to all the parents that they had to sign off that their child had permission to do Remind, and I made sure I got it back from every parent so they were all aware that I was offering this function, because I wanted the parents to get the text. Now, I teach middle school in Connecticut, and middle school kids, they want to be adult, but they don't quite know how to manage all their activities. So Remind has been great, and I use it. I was teaching 7th and 8th grade science. Next year, I'm going to a new district. I'm just going to teach 8th grade. But I send reminds pretty much daily, and I do like the schedule feature. I set them up during the day. They go out like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, because if I send it out during the day, they're going to look at it during the day, they're going to forget about it. So I want it to be sent out later in the day where they're going to get it at home and say, oh, that's right, I have this homework to do. I would attach links to Quizlet and other things that I want them to look at, so you can put that right in the Remind. I do have the 300-character, thank God, limit because I need it. I put a lot of it in there. The chat, I wasn't sure with middle school that I was going to like, but I do like it because kids would send things back to me. And they didn't misuse it, and they were very responsible with it, and I really found it to be very helpful. Parents would write to me too. So I do like the chat. I also was a track coach, and so I set up a track team page. So the kids would bring your uniform tomorrow, the bus is leaving at whatever, and that was very helpful as well. It was separate from the class work. All the kids on the track team, I didn't have them all in class. I made some notes here. Oh, it's great for reminders about quizzes, tests, and weather issues. If there's a delay, your test will now be on Thursday. So I would send that out. Now, most kids did sign up, and I was hoping everybody would, but most did, because for things like that, I'm in the Northeast. You never know when the weather's going to be tricky. So we had a really good winter this past winter, but last year we had a terrible winter. So you don't really know what's going to happen here. But it's great for those weather issues when you want to change a date of something, or just when something comes up, I'm going to change the date of this quiz, you're not ready, we're going to make it this day. And it really was helpful in a lot of ways. So the things I like the best are the scheduling, the chat, and I found it interesting. I don't know who said this. The person that talked about having a separate page for parents and a separate page for students. I found that interesting. I may pursue that this year. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to go that route or not, but I think that's interesting, because one parent wrote to me this year and she said, I wish you wouldn't send me as many messages. I want my child to be more responsible, which I found very interesting, and I appreciated that, because as 8th graders going into high school, I scaled back a little bit around February, because I said, these kids are getting too dependent on me to remind them to do their homework. They should be doing this on their own. So I did scale back a little bit with the 8th grade. It took them by surprise, and a couple of kids were like, I noticed a drop in homework return right away, but then they caught on. Seventh grade, I did a lot more because they're a little younger and they need more prompting. But the eighth graders, I'm trying to get them ready for high school and to be more on board with what they need to turn in the next day. But that one parent's comment I found was very, very. I did a survey at the end of the year, and that came out in my survey, and I thought that's interesting. But I appreciate that because I think that parent is right. Technically, the child should be more responsible, but at middle school, we all know they're not there yet. So, but I love it. I wish more teachers in my building used it. They didn't, and I was very disappointed. Going into my new district, I'm going to push it. And I'm not quite sure how many people use it, but I think it's a great tool. And one thing I heard today, too, that I didn't know about using it between teachers and between administrators and teachers, and that's we didn't even look at that last year. And I think it's something I'm going to look at next year, too. It's just a great, great tool. Love it.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Wow, all of you are just saying so many great comments and ideas. And then on the Remind feed here, a lot of you are chiming in that loving scheduled feature, using it within your building with other teachers and staff. Yes, it's so good to hear all these stories. So a couple of interesting things that jumped out to me too. So back to that dependency piece you were mentioning. Yeah, that's a struggle because, and that's some concerns we hear from newer teachers that are evaluating Remind as well. They should be responsible and know how to do their homework and manage their time. And so I think it's kind of scaffolding it. Okay, in the beginning, maybe they need a little bit more support. Maybe the parent kind of teaching them how to give more support, and then eventually kind of training wheels, taking them off a little bit. And then also, I think it's an interesting digital citizenship kind of experience because we do have to go out on a limb and hope that students or parents won't abuse the chat and reply a lot of the time. But I think it's a cool opportunity to show them, no, I can use this responsibly, use it when I need help. And I think it teaches them that skill. That's going to be very important. And then the other interesting thing is as we take off those training wheels, and then I think it opens up interesting opportunities to use it more as an instructional tool. So you can really expand upon what you covered during the day. And so hopefully then from the parent's perspective, it doesn't feel like there's too many things coming in just on the day-to-day logistic things, but kind of more, oh, we covered this particular topic. Maybe you want to ask about this later at home instead of the typical, how was your day, honey? So yeah, it's always interesting to hear when is that right transition point, and then also etiquette. I feel like I hear a wide spectrum. Some people love to get messages every day. Some are kind of more once a week. And I love that you did a survey. And we actually have survey templates for RCEs. I'm going to share it in our folder when I walk through resources. But yeah, I think it's great to get just feedback, asking what would be helpful for you, and then you tailor it. So many great things there. Thanks so much, Robin. And then last but not least, we have Shay here. Shay, you want to go?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, sorry, been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. So I'm Shay. I sound like I'm the only one on the West Coast besides Jordan. I'm in Oregon, and I teach 8th grade language arts. I also coach 3rd through 8th grade drama, 7th and 8th grade leadership, and I led the DC trip last year. Every year our 8th graders go to the East Coast. We hit DC, Philadelphia, Gettysburg, and New York. Wow. So I used Remind for all of those things. For my 8th grade class, I actually had 2 different Reminds, which goes back to what a few people have talked about with the parent versus the students. And I had one that I straight told everybody, this is the one the students need to sign up for. It's the one that's going to get a ton of messages. If you don't want a ton of messages, just sign up for this other one. You might get some duplicate messages because of the fact that, if I'm putting something about upcoming promotion or a field trip, it's going to go on both. You'll get the duplicate messages if you're on both, but at least the parents had the choice on whether or not they wanted more or less. I did have a couple of parents the first year that I used it. They went to my principal and vice principal, and they were like, this is amazing. It has changed our conversation at home. And instead of fighting with my kid going, what do you need to do? They said it's changed the conversation to, where is this homework? And that I felt was super powerful. and that actually had our administrators trying to get more teachers on board. And we had some other teachers kind of try it out, but they weren't totally sold on trying to reach all the parents. They used the whole not everybody has a cell phone excuse, and I went, yeah, they really do. For drama, I send out things like, hey, don't forget, lines need to be learned by this day, or we're looking for these props, pre-sale tickets for families, whatever. And so I send out those sorts of reminders. For leadership, they're required to get volunteer hours. I would send out reminds about, hey, don't forget, it's this, make sure that you're wearing these clothes or whatever it's supposed to be. For the DC trip, we use that for monthly fundraiser meetings, as well as when we voted on what play we wanted to watch in New York, I had them vote back through chat. While we were actually in New York, is their wake-up call. And when we were at different places, like I would say, okay, in 20 minutes we have to meet at the bus. That way people were more aware of the time, because it's so easy to get lost in all that awesomeness.
Yeah, totally. I feel like the field trip example, aside from sports and drama and clubs and field trips, I feel like that's also a lifesaver here that we hear a lot. And for everyone, with the group that's all going together and coordinating there. And I love the voting via chat for the play. That's awesome. And then for the parents too, so that they don't freak out as much. They can kind of get an insight into, okay, they made it to the next destination and things are going well. So thank you so much for sharing that.
The other thing I wanted to add with the chat, I had a lot of parents, because we would run before and after school tutorials. So that was a really quick way for parents to be able to reach me when they just had their cell phone at work, instead of having to email me and hope that I got their email in time.
Yeah, super important. It's interesting and I do know some people still don't have phones. We definitely are aware of that. But for the most part, most folks have a phone now. And actually, if anything, and we hear this from students now, but I think we can hear this from parents, like email is kind of dead. Like it's going into a black hole, or at least it's not as responsive. It's not as efficient.
Right.
And so for those quick, real-time things, you have this in your pocket, and that's just a game changer in a lot of different ways. And then I love the after-school piece. I just had School to Career. They're an after-school program, and they provide mentor work experiences for their students. And so they've been using it for their after-school stuff too. And then I also, many of you talked about this, but attaching links to other information, because that's the beauty too. We want to help distribute all these other things, and it's not so much what is it, it's just tell me where it is, and then I'll find it from my phone and get what I need. So, so loving all of these stories. Thank you. Keep them coming out there on the Remind class. It's fun to chat with y'all. All right, so I'm going to continue back to my presentation here. I'm going to share my screen again. And again, as you have any comments or questions, just message me, or if you're in the Hangout, just holler. All right, so resources. We got lots of exciting new resources for you that I wanted to share. So the first is how to access all these awesome resources. So if you log into remind.com on the web, and you go to your little profile button in the lower left-hand corner, you should see a little apple, and then it says Connected Educator. So if you click on that, that takes you to our special Remind Connected Educator site. And I also included a short link here in case you have trouble finding it again or just want to check it out. So essentially, here's kind of your hub as Remind Connected Educators. We link off to our forums. We link off to all the resources I'm going to be talking about in a minute. We link off to our directory and map. So it's all here. If you don't see yourself on the directory or map, just let me know and we'll add you. We're always adding more and more people every day. And many of you have asked about how to get other materials, whether you want to get some swag or other resources. I will include a link to that, and I'm also going to send that out after the session today. So wanted to give you a little peek at just some of the resources. I won't walk through every single one. They're all in that folder, but just some highlights so you are aware. So the first one is badges and email signatures. So we have a shared kind of folder of lots of different things in here. So badges and email. Basically, if you want to have your badge on your email signature, on a website, on the blog, social media, wherever, you can do that. So there's a template in this folder that you can kind of copy and then tweak to your liking in any places that you want to use it. Then we have a kind of back-to-school, school-wide kit. So this kind of is a little bit of everything in there in case you just want a handout, or you want a case study, or you want to highlight some new features we have. So just some example of what's in there. We have the new case study for music and band directors, where we kind of talk about how they use Remind. Or our new feature called Activities, which some of you may have heard about or used already. Basically our new feature that lets you organize field trips and fundraisers on Remind. So that's in there. It's kind of highlighting what's new, what are some new stories and examples there. And then the survey templates, I mentioned this earlier. So at the beginning or end of the year, or any time of the year really, we've created templates, either print versions or digital ones powered by Google Forms that you can use to get feedback, whether it's kind of qualitative stories or feedback on communication or Remind, whatever the scope you want to set, or more of a numerical rating, kind of 1 through 5 on the experience. So that can be helpful to use at the beginning or end to kind of understand what people would like to see or receive. And then we also have additional handouts and flyers you can use for more kind of tutorials and overviews, if that helps. One example of what's in there is a Remind translation guide. So that's one of our other newer features we launched last year, where you can type your message and then hit the little globe button and translate it into over 90 languages. So we have a little overview there on Remind Translate. And then our PD kits is pretty popular. So this is for those that are going to do a training or a PD day or a service day. So we have a copy of our Remind presentation in there, both in a PDF format and in Google Slides, so you can make a copy and tweak to your needs. We have some guided notes and worksheets for you, so if it's going to be a little bit more of a workshop, interactive style, we have some kind of sample questions and kind of brainstorming activities that people can do. We also have a fun badge and certificate for people that participate, and I'm actually going to send this particular certificate out to people who tuned in tonight after the session. So that's in the PD service kit. So here's the link to this folder. It's also linked off of the RCE site I mentioned, and I'm sending out this whole entire presentation after today's session via the Remind class we're all in. So hopefully you'll be able to find it one way or another, but here it is real quickly if you want to take note of that. And then the other thing that I get asked about is event request forms. So if you're going to a conference, or you're hosting a meetup, or you are doing a training or something like that, you can fill out this form to request swag. So shirts, stickers, pencils, buttons, things like that. We always get a lot of requests. We wish we could send everything to everyone, but we try to do our best. And if we can't accommodate it the first time, usually the next time we can handle it. So that's the link there. Again, I'm going to be sharing out this presentation that will have all the links. And then I wanted to let you know a little bit more about our team. So we're all here for you. A lot of us have been teachers ourselves or administrators, and we're all just very honored to support you and just listen to your feedback and advocate for your needs and just help you make the most out of the tool. So I already introduced myself now, but again, I sit in our San Francisco headquarters. I look after our community programs. And then I have an awesome team of other folks kind of situated throughout the country. So we have Taylor in the Northeast. He sits in New York. We have Connor. He's here with me in California, in San Francisco, so he looks after California. We have Sarah Doherty. She's based in Philly, and she kind of looks after the Mid-Atlantic area. We have Jackson, who's a former principal in Chicago. And then we have Laura, who's a parent of 3 daughters in Austin Independent School District. So we have an awesome team here. Feel free to reach out to any of us at any point if you need anything, if you have an idea, if you have feedback, anything at all. All right, so I'm going to open up the floor for some more Q&A. Again, just reply back to my message from the Remind class to submit your questions. And I'm going to stop sharing here. And we've already seen a lot of questions come in, actually. So let's see. And then, of course, for folks in the Hangout here, feel free to chime in with any questions you have, too. All right, so let's see here. Is there a plan to integrate with the LMS Canvas with something like the Google Site widget? Great question. And to clarify, the widget, it lets you embed your Remind class onto a site or a blog or a page. So if you are logged in on the web and you go to your settings and then click on the widget button, it shows you the kind of copy-paste code to embed that. So it's a great question about integrating with an LMS. To my knowledge, we don't have any specific immediate plans right now, but we definitely know a lot of schools use LMSs and student information systems too. So we definitely do want to do more integrations down the road. We just don't have a specific timeline at this point. So stay tuned. I'll definitely advocate for that and let the team know that would be of interest. Let's see. How will you know when we have set up our school on Remind? Is it just when they put in the school name, or do they need to put that we recommended it? Great question. So I think kind of getting at that school-wide piece for Remind. Essentially, it's when your school leader, so a principal, vice principal, assistant principal, signs up for Remind. So if they sign up at remind.com, they just enter in their information, and then we ask for their role. And the role they want to choose is administrator. So we have 4 options. It's teacher, student, parent, and administrator. So they'll click on administrator, and that's where they can indicate their role. So that's kind of the first step in kind of getting everyone on your school, because then what happens when they create an account, we create a school-wide class for them automatically. It's linked to their school. And then all staff, all students, all parents, whoever's connected to that school, when they join Remind and they connect to that school, then it links them to that class automatically. So it just streamlines everything. It kind of just helps everyone get into the same place and get in the loop. So the first step is having your school leader create an account at remind.com. All right. Is there an actual survey feature, or do we just write the question in the message? It's a great question. So there isn't an embedded survey or polling feature at this point on Remind. We've definitely talked about it. We've explored it. We've even done some Hack Day projects on it. But nothing to release at this time, unfortunately. But I think down the road, for sure, probably later this year or maybe next year. And but in the meantime, there's definitely some workarounds for that, and some of our panel already mentioned that. So you can definitely post a question and then have people reply. I've done that many times. You can link to a survey from elsewhere, Google Form, a SurveyMonkey. You can always copy paste any links to anything else and just have people do it that way. So that's kind of how you can get around that for now. But we're definitely
may I jump in, Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've linked Google Forms many times, and what I like about doing that, rather than have an embedded survey feature, is that it goes straight to my Google Sheets, and then I can do some analytics real quick.
I did the same thing. My survey was Google Form. Worked great. Yep. Sent it through Remind. They just linked it right to it, and all the data was right there. Yep.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, and I even did that today with this class and for this session. I think I sent out a SurveyMonkey. So you just take the link for people to fill out and then just embed it into your Remind message. Mm-hmm. Cool. I have a question about how is Remind funded? Oh, that's a good one. We get that one sometimes. So right now we're privately funded, and that's how we're able to provide the app or the service for free. But we're starting to add some optional kind of add-on premium features, like activities that I mentioned earlier, that lets you organize field trips and fundraisers. So with activities, you can still create free activities too. But if you need to collect any money from the activity for a trip or an item sale or fundraiser, then there is a 5% fee, depending on what that amount is. So that's just one example of an add-on, but it's totally optional. You're still welcome to use the core kind of messaging and even create free activities anytime. And we'll continue to look at other kind of features like that. Again, that will totally be optional. So, but again, what we offer today in terms of messaging for the whole school will always be free. Let's see here. So some of you are saying you don't see the Connected Educator link when you're logged in. Just ping me, and we'll make sure it's turned on for you. So I think we have to make sure that you're actually a Remind Connected Educator in order to get that showing. Let's see here. Can I put a Remind link on my classroom Facebook page? Yes, you can. So actually, I'm going to share my screen so I can show you all how to do that. And also, I'll share the widget information that I mentioned earlier. And for fun, I can also show our new activities feature. There's lots of new things. Okay, so sharing a Remind link. So let's say I have my Remind PD August 3rd class today. I'm here on the web. I could do this from the mobile app too. So I'm on the web, and let's say I want to share this class. So I'll click on the Add People, and then Share a Link. And then there it is. So I just copy that guy, and I can paste that anywhere I like. I can paste that on a Facebook page. I can email it. I can post it on a site. You can write it down somewhere. It's really up to you. So that's how you would access that. And just to walk through this again, because I know some things changed, and I want to make sure people know where to go. For other ways to add people in your class, you can always just find that People tab, whether you're on the app or the mobile. Sorry, whether you're on the mobile app or the web. So in-person instructions, if you're in your class, open house, one-on-one, and you just want to show someone the code they text into, this is the best option to do that. So it just shows a nice little visual example of how to get in your class. Now let's say you already have people's contact information. You can just add them directly to your classes now. So you don't have to kind of follow up and kind of do a lot of things to get in your class. So if you have their names, an email address, or phone number, you can just copy paste that in here and then add them to your class directly. And then the printable PDFs. So here, in case you want to print this out or email it out, you could do whatever you like, and then have that sent home or just sharing out with other people. That's available here. And actually, it's available in 6 languages now. So if you find the little language drop down, you can translate it and then download. So that's on adding people in your class. Then the next thing I wanted to show was the widget. So again, this is only on the web, but I will go to my profile button in the lower left-hand corner, and then account, and then widgets. So here, widgets, I can choose whether all of my classes to push out on a feed on a site somewhere. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. Or I can just choose a specific class. And all I have to do is copy the code and then paste it wherever I choose. And we have some preset instructions here, depending on what kind of site you have. So that is how you use the widget. And then the last thing, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I did have my 8th grade class, the one where I had all their homework and everything, on my Google site. And some parents chose not to sign up for the reminders, but they would go on and look at that and talk to their kids about the reminders they had gotten all week.
Nice. Yeah, and it's just to save you time. If you have, a site or a blog or what have you, you can embed it, and then that way it's just one less place to have to update information. So I just wanted to show one example. This is from Leal Elementary School in Southern California. They have a school-wide kind of parents class here, and they attach files, and then you can kind of access the files from the web there. So that's kind of how the widget works.
Jordan, can I mention one more use? It reminded me when you were in that screen because I saw it as another option. I had forgotten to mention it before. Another use of Remind that I came into more recently, not when I was a rookie, is the print feature.
Oh, yeah.
I know in Pennsylvania, I don't know if it's the same across the country, but I'm sure it is. We, as teachers, are being held accountable more and more And I know in my district, we have to have a yearly end-of-year meeting with the principal and talk about what we've done and be able to show data and proof of different things. Using Remind as my primary source of communication with my parents meant it was a few clicks and some printing, and I could take a full transcript of what I've said to my parents over the year without having to keep an extra copy or have it, keeping a file going. I just, the morning of my meeting, went in, printed it out, and took it in with me, and was able to really show everything, all the pictures, all the text, and it was all right there for me.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's another one that I don't think gets enough love and attention. So this can only be accessed on the web, but just log in on remind.com and then go to account and then print. And this is how you can export both the history of all the announcements or messages you've sent to all of your classes, or you can choose specific ones, and you can customize the date range. Or if you just want to get a list of all the participants in your class, either all classes or just specific classes, you can do that here. So thank you for bringing it up. That is, I think we underestimate the power of that feature, so it's good to know. Let's see, I think we're just about at time. I still see questions coming in. I'll definitely respond back to them after this session. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight, taking the time, especially as school's kind of ramping up. And thank you to our panelists for taking the time as well to share their stories and examples and tips. I really appreciate it. This was super fun. I learned so much from you all. It's such an honor to support all these things you're doing. So thank you for everything that you all are doing.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Of course. Well, have a great year, everyone. And again, feel free to contact me anytime if you have any questions or need anything else. And I'll be sharing all the resources I mentioned after the session today through the class.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jordan.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.